The emperor bestowed a marriage, marrying me, an invincible female general, to Jiang Yichen, the most notorious playboy in the capital. The world mocks me, saying no matter how great my military achievements, they amount to nothing before a marriage decree, and they want to see me clean up his messes in the inner chambers. I will make him realize that being a general's husband is no easy task.
Your Majesty, General Shen has guarded the border for many years and achieved great military success. Now that the Hu people have surrendered, she should be bestowed a marriage to fulfill the bond between ruler and subject.
A well-considered proposal. Since that is the case, we are reminded of someone. Your nephew of direct descent, Jiang Yichen of the Duke's estate, is still unmarried.
Your Majesty, please do not. My nephew is wild and stubborn, always causing trouble, neglecting his duties, and utterly vulgar. Everyone in the capital knows he is a useless playboy. He is truly unworthy of General Shen.
The matter is settled. Let the Ministry of Rites quickly set the wedding date. You may withdraw.
General, that young master of the Jiang family is just a piece of useless trash. The emperor is openly stripping you of your military power. We should not accept this marriage. The emperor's mind is made up. The wedding is in 3 days. The duke's estate is already making preparations, and the betrothal gifts have been delivered to our estate. If I do not go, would I not fail to appreciate Minister Zhang's kind intentions? A useless fool is much easier to handle than a clever person playing dumb. Right now, everyone is waiting to see us make fools of ourselves. They are even placing bets on you, betting on which day you will start beating him after marrying in.
Why bring so many weapons for a wedding? You are here to get married, not to raid a house.
The minister's wife seems so nervous. Could it be that you are afraid of having your house raided?
You.
General Shen, I'm afraid this is against the rules.
I must trouble Minister Jiang for guidance. I must trouble Minister Jiang for guidance. Which rule of etiquette states that weapons are not allowed in a dowry?
General, there are still 2 bows left.
I only bow to heaven and earth.
Whatever the general says goes.
Send them to the bridal chamber.
Oh, the general lifted her own veil.
The smell of alcohol is so strong. Stay away from me.
Come, let's drink this nuptial cup. From now on, we are husband and wife. If the general won't drink, I'll drink it. As for me, I have no great ambitions. Everyone in the capital knows this. Don't expect me to strive for progress, and don't try to control me. We will each live our own lives. We won't be getting in each other's way. How about it?
What I am best at is managing people. Managing a playboy like you is more than easy. Are you afraid of me, or are you nervous? Your face is red.
It's from the wine.
Liar.
I'm going to get some fresh air.
Don't go too far. I'm still waiting for you. Your subordinate has watched Jiang Yichen for 3 days as ordered. On the first day, Jiang Yichen went to the cockfighting arena early in the morning. He lost 20 taels of silver, got into an argument with someone, and lost the argument. On the second day, Jiang Yichen insisted on singing for the courtesan because his singing was too terrible. He was kicked out by her. On the third day, at a literary gathering, someone was speaking grandly about saving the world. Jiang Yichen had his servant play the victim, and under the guise of raising charitable funds, he scammed the nobles out of a huge sum of money. It's all completely idle and improper behavior. There is not a single redeeming quality. Keep watching him. As long as he doesn't cause any major trouble, let him be. There is one thing, General, but I don't know if I should say it.
What our merchant caravan fears most is that kind of barren desert. When the water runs out, you can only drink horse urine.
Hey, so did you bring this dagger back from the northern frontier too?
Good eye. This is from the royal palace of Kacha. Others would have to pay me 500 taels, but with our friendship,
I'm sure you'd feel bad making too much profit off me.
200 taels.
No bargaining.
Forget it. 100 taels for you. We are friends, after all.
Old Chong, pay him.
It's only worth 5 taels at most. We don't have that much money.
If you don't want to do business with me, don't insult me like this.
My mistake, my mistake. Uncle Chong, pay him.
We only have 50 taels.
50 taels it is, then.
Then what about this one? How come I've never seen this pattern before?
This was handmade by the palace craftsman.
How much?
200 taels. I can't go any lower.
Uncle Chong, gently, gently.
Why are you hitting my brother? I'm still right here.
HMPH. Where did you get the money to buy this junk?
This isn't junk.
Only a sucker like you would buy this.
Wait.
General, why are you here?
These are 1 tael of silver each. Buy 10 and get a whetstone for free.
You people are insulting me. I'm not doing this deal anymore.
Don't be angry, brother. Find me next time you have good stuff.
Out of respect for you, I won't argue with them.
That is Chong Gui, the family servant who has cared for him since childhood. Although he inherited the title, everyone in the manor is a sycophant. No one truly treats him as the master. He is such a useless waste. He deserves to be dealt with.
You spent so much money again today. How will you account for this when we go back? You embarrassing piece of trash. You deserve to be beaten.
Old General Jiang was loyal and heroic all his life. His only remaining child, though foolish, should not be humiliated like this. Yes, General. I understand. Insubordination and beating someone in the street. Take him to the magistrate.
Could you please let Uncle Chong go? It doesn't hurt.
You are pleading for him?
I'm not pleading for him. He will only beat me harder later.
General.
The minister will not let you off easily.
General, can I ask you a favor? Can I stay at your general's manor tonight? I promise I'll leave tomorrow. I won't overstay my welcome.
No.
When second uncle asks about old Chang's whereabouts, he will definitely not spare me tonight.
Fine, do whatever you want. You little tag-along. Aren't you eating?
I am.
Does the Duke's manor not feed you meat?
They do, but I'm just hungry. General, you will spoil me like this.
You are already bad enough. How much worse could you get?
True.
I'll have someone bring you some wound medicine later.
I knew you cared about me, General.
Keep talking back and I'll bring you the harshest one.
Don't. Good General, it doesn't hurt that much anymore. Really.
These are the clothes the general prepared for you, young master.
General, that upward slash of yours was so impressive. Could you do it again slowly? I want to draw it.
You actually know how to draw?
I don't, haha, but I want to learn. This saber is quite old. The wear on this hilt is from at least 10 years of use.
It was the old General Jiang, that is, your father, who gave it to me. The old General Jiang once taught me how to fight the enemy. It was he who initially overrode all objections so that I could go to the battlefield as a woman.
Then we do share some fate. Now I'm definitely not leaving.
What about your second uncle?
If I go back, he'll take his anger out on me. If I don't go back, he'll just have to bottle up his anger.
This saber was a gift from an old friend. Now, I return it to that old friend's son.
I'm just a useless person. How am I worthy of wielding a saber?
Tomorrow, I will teach you, starting with the horse stance.
General, did you marry me because of my father?
Wait, it was an imperial marriage decree. A subject cannot refuse. Bend your knees, straighten your back, lower your center of gravity.
When the recruits practice the horse stance, do you watch them like this too?
Fong Shueting does.
Deputy General Fong is very fierce.
10 times fiercer than me.
Then should I be glad today is her day off? She returns tomorrow. Then I won't practice tomorrow.
Stand up. Sink your shoulders and drop your elbows. Focus your energy in your core. Very good. Keep holding it like this.
I want to become a peerless master. I can definitely do it. I'll go practice right now. General, that diagonal slash looks beautiful.
A killing move doesn't need to look beautiful.
But it can deter those who bully me.
That reason is barely acceptable. The key to a diagonal slash is speed. The power doesn't come from your shoulders. It comes from your waist. Aim carefully before you slash. Come, give it a try. Too much force. Hold back a bit. Keep your strength at 60%. But your wrists are too stiff. Relax. Don't use too much force. General, an old nanny from the Duke's manor has arrived. She's in tears.
She must be my wet nurse.
You decide.
Please show her in.
Young master, are you all right?
She is doing very well.
The minister requests your return.
I'm living quite well here.
This old woman begs you to return. He has cleaned latrines for 3 days straight. He hasn't had a single bite of food. He really can't hold out any longer.
I'll go back with you.
If you need help,
Thank you, General. I need you to keep this sword for me for now.
What do you think of Jiang Yichen? Is the general move? How about it? A bit silly, a bit slow, a bit of a rascal. But he has never bullied anyone with his status. It's always others who bully him. He seems like a harmless fool.
Your second uncle was also worried you'd cause trouble.
Stop. Feng Shui, help him out. Yes.
Cousin-in-law is here, and here I thought some bandit dared to break into the Duke's manor.
Chen lost his parents when he was young. Our disciplining him is only our duty.
What mistake did he make? Did he steal? Or did he rob? Or did he disgrace the family name?
He stayed out all night. Isn't that embarrassing enough?
He stayed at my manor for a few days, practicing martial arts to strengthen his body with a set routine morning and night. I wonder who is actually being embarrassed.
General Shen, since you married into the Duke's estate, I am considered your second uncle. Showing such disregard for your elders and using your power to bully others, aren't you afraid word of this will reach His Majesty?
You are more than welcome to go right now and tell His Majesty, word for word, about tonight's spectacle in the ancestral hall, where a bloody cane was used to bind and beat your own nephew. Whether it is the Ministry of Justice or the Court of Imperial Clan, who should be interrogated and who should be imprisoned will be decided by the law.
Nephew's wife. It is good that you are here. There are a few matters I need to discuss with you. You have been married into the Jiang family for 5 days now. Why haven't you gone yet?
I have no time.
Paying respects at the ancestral hall is of utmost importance. What could you possibly be busy with that is more urgent than this?
Nephew's wife, since you have married into the Jiang family, you should let go of military affairs. A married woman should follow her husband. There is no reason to run to the military camp every single day.
If the minister wishes to take my military tally, go speak to His Majesty first.
Cousin's wife, you have stayed in the northern border for too long. I fear you have picked up the crude habits of the north.
Are you saying I have no manners?
I did not mean it that way.
Then what do you mean? You both call me nephew's wife so affectionately, making it sound very close. Then I cannot let myself be taken advantage of for nothing. Bring me the account books and keys of the Duke's estate. While I am at it, I will also audit the dowry accounts of Jiang Yichen's mother. Your second uncle and I have managed the Duke's estate for you all these years.
Even if there is no credit, there is still hard work.
You have just married in and are not yet familiar with the estate. Keep the keys with us for now.
No need. I learn quickly.
What is the meaning of this? Nephew's wife?
What is the rush? Rushing to audit the accounts makes it easy to make mistakes.
This woman is far too arrogant.
This entry from 3 years ago shows 800 taels spent on renovations, but construction on the west courtyard never even started.
What else is there?
The deeds to several estates and shops were transferred under the second master's name. Those estates were the inheritance left for you, young master. Now they have ended up in someone else's pocket. Even all the dowry of the late madam before her passing was given to the second madam. If the master and madam were still alive, how could the young master have degenerated into the city's biggest playboy?
Old General Jiang was my mentor. If his spirit in heaven knew his only son was in such a miserable state, starting today, all purchases and withdrawals of silver in the Duke's estate must be signed by me to take effect. No one is allowed to smuggle private goods anymore. If anyone comes to withdraw money in the name of the second branch, tell them to come find me.
If the second madam still comes to make a scene,
the thing I fear least is sparring with others.
I heard you audited all the accounts of the estate. You even took back the estates from second aunt's side.
Second aunt is absolutely furious.
Why don't you return the household management rights to her? It would save her from making a scene every day.
Sure. But before returning the rights, we must divide the family estate. Your second uncle's family lives with you, yet their food, clothing, and expenses are far more extravagant than yours. Moreover, as the Minister of War, your second uncle shouldn't be lacking this bit of family fortune.
It was second uncle's family who looked after me since I was a child. It is only right that they discipline me.
Treating your family fortune as their private treasury, spoiling you to ruin, indulging you, and leaving you abandoned by everyone. You call this discipline?
General, our family's wealth is so vast. We won't miss this little bit.
I shall temporarily take over the management of the Duke's estate. Any objections?
No. I wouldn't dare.
I have also found an experienced accountant, as well as several academic tutors and martial arts instructors. You must learn to stand on your own feet. I have also selected 14 strong guards, all of whom are trained martial artists. They are more than enough to handle a few ruffians.
Thank you for your trouble, General, and for the expense.
I am currently an idle general, with few official duties. Besides, it is your Duke's estate that is paying for this. Recover well from your injuries.
Take care, General. When heaven is about to place a great responsibility on a great man, it must first empty his body and frustrate his actions, thereby stimulating his mind, hardening his nature,
and improving his incompetencies.
Young master, this is the lifeblood of our bank.
I want to sleep. I can't take this anymore. I want to eat.
Can you tell the Big Dipper and the North Star apart?
That is the Big Dipper, and that is the North Star. Am I right?
I'll count that as correct.
When I was young, my father took me to count stars on the city wall. He said the stars in the Northern Territory are very bright.
Yes. The starry sky in the Northern Territory is brighter and denser.
Then I will go and see it for myself in the future.
Madam, the young master sent me back to withdraw some money.
He only behaved for a few days before causing trouble again.
The young master is racing horses with others at the West Mountain. He asked me to bring Snowstepper along as well.
Snowstepper is my horse.
The young master said he would just borrow it.
General, what brings you here?
You want to use my horse?
Well, I was afraid you wouldn't agree.
Who gave you permission to use my horse as a wager?
I was wrong.
I'll race in your place.
Sister, here you go. You are faster than that whole crowd. My father said there is a female general who is incredibly formidable. Is it you?
General Shen, I am Su Qin. 3 years ago, outside Yanmen Pass, you saved a grain transport officer from under the hooves of the nomads' horses. That man was my father.
I don't remember.
My father often speaks of your kindness. I have admired you for a long time, General. May I ask, General, after your marriage, has your life after marriage been to your liking?
It is incredibly to my liking.
Who asked you? I have already passed the metropolitan exam. If I rank high in the imperial exam in the future, General, wait for me.
Brother Su, I'm still standing right here.
This precious sword, please accept it, General Shen.
I will accept it. This was originally the prize I won. As for what is in your head, it has nothing to do with me.
I understand. Take care, General.
Hey, keep your eyes from wandering.
He thinks I am stuck in the mud and wants to help me escape, but I don't feel trapped here at all. Besides, how is that love? He is merely infatuated with the self-satisfaction of playing the savior.
General, am I your mud?
A speck of mud can be brushed away instantly.
But many specks of mud, when gathered, can become a flood.
So you have the ability to stand up to your second uncle now. Are you satisfied?
No. I wanted to win his sword to give to you. Who knew he would deliberately lure me into his trap? This sword was meant to be given to you in the first place.
Then it's yours.
I don't want it. I want that bigger prize.
If you keep misbehaving, I have plenty of other ways to make you behave. I order you to return to the Duke's manor before sunset. Otherwise, don't fall behind.
What are you looking at? Have you never seen someone train before?
A cousin has arrived. She is currently having tea in the side hall. The madam has requested your presence to chat.
A cousin?
She is the daughter of my second aunt's sister. Her given name is Su Ying.
Let's go take a look.
Cousin-in-law, you're here.
I wonder why you two were looking for me. There were many misunderstandings the other day.
Today, I especially want to offer you an apology.
Yes, indeed. With sisters' talent and beauty, we have long wanted to get closer to you.
You two must visit each other more often in the future. You are both wonderful people. You will surely get along.
Sister, do you smell something strange?
No.
How can you not? It smells a bit like something is burning. I heard that in the Northern Territory, you once repelled the enemy single-handedly. What a magnificent sight that must have been.
It wasn't single-handed. I had 3 scouts with me. The details are incorrect.
Even so, that is still truly amazing.
It's getting late. I should go.
I heard the peonies in the suburbs are blooming beautifully. I've set up a flower viewing banquet in 3 days.
I've been very tired lately, so I won't join in the fun.
Look at her attitude. She really thinks she's some kind of goddess.
Keep your voice down.
General, the second madam is hosting a flower viewing banquet and has invited you to attend.
Decline it. I don't have time to look at flowers with her.
She insists that you must attend.
Must.
The wives of the ministers of war, revenue, and rights are all coming. The minister's wife even sent over an outfit.
Let's go and see what kind of trap she's setting this time.
Were you frightened?
If this were anywhere else, you'd be dead by now.
I heard second aunt is setting up a challenge for you. I was worried about you.
How come I didn't know I was entering a challenge?
Come quickly. We were just talking about you.
Talking about what?
Viewing flowers today is meant to be pleasant, but just looking at flowers and drinking tea is a bit dull. We were just planning to play the zither to liven things up. Would cousin-in-law like to join us?
Inger, you girl have no sense of propriety. Who do you think your cousin-in-law is? Competing in music with you? If word gets out, people will laugh at her.
I just have a childish nature and wanted to play a game with cousin-in-law. Cousin-in-law won't mind, right?
How shall we compete?
I actually have an idea.
What idea?
Ladies, listen. Whether it sounds good or not is a matter of opinion and hard to judge. Why don't we bring an old ox here?
Like the legend of making an old ox weep?
Exactly. In ancient times, there was Han Yi, whose song lingered in the rafters for 3 days, moving all who heard it. Even an old ox would weep upon hearing it. Today, we shall emulate the ancients. Whoever can make the ox weep shall be the winner. It is perfectly fair, and no one can find fault with it.
Does cousin-in-law dare to try?
Han Yi was skilled at singing and making an old ox weep. You used the illusion quite cleverly.
The old ox is crying.
Today, my cousin-in-law and I bonded over music. It was highly enjoyable. It seems this old ox also understands music and knows what is good.
This girl, Yinga, has indeed put some effort into music since childhood. It is quite rare.
Wait. Look closely, everyone. Is it crying because it's moved? Or is it crying from the smoke? Cheating is not nice.
Who threw the jaw stick?
Keep your voice down. Is this something to be proud of? General, it's your turn.
Cousin-in-law, you're not going to play the drums, are you? This is a music contest, not a military drill.
Why don't drums count as music?
Drums are so crude that they hardly have any rhythm.
Whoever makes the ox cry wins. Cut the chatter.
The old ox is crying.
This doesn't count. The ox knelt down, but it knelt because the drums were too loud, and it was frightened.
Then why didn't it kneel to you?
Cousin Yichen, why are you taking an outsider's side?
She is my wife. You are my cousin. I can certainly tell who is closer to me.
I don't accept this. She just relied on her brute strength. The drumming was vulgar.
Enough. You say the drumming of the northern border is vulgar. But do you know, while you were safely playing the zither and singing in the capital, what kind of horns the garrison of the northern border blew, and what kind of war drums they beat?
Cousin-in-law, I didn't mean that. We were just having some fun. Yet you used these words to pressure me.
Today, everyone has indeed had their eyes open. Please speak highly of my wife when you are out in the future. Setting aside everything else, just the feat of subduing the bull with her drumming is enough to talk about for half a year. A perfectly good gathering for flower appreciation and music turned into a military parade. Second ant stage was set up in vain.
Did you do this?
How could I have such ability?
General, suing from the Duke's estate, requests an audience.
Cousin-in-law, is it convenient to have a word? I came because I want to challenge you to a match.
What?
At the West Hills Racecourse. The race is held the day after tomorrow, on the 5th. That day, you raced in place of my cousin and left everyone in the dust, gaining a lot of prestige. So, I want to win some prestige for myself too. It is true that you are a female general, but when it comes to horsemanship, I won't necessarily lose. The whole capital praises you as a heroine among women. If I win, it will let people know that the daughters of the Su family are not just pretty faces who can only play instruments and sing.
No. I don't have the time.
Are you afraid of losing?
There's no need. You want to prove yourself, which is fine, but you don't need to step on me to do it. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
I traveled all the way from Dengdo, thousands of miles, hoping to gain some recognition in the capital. But if I don't even have this opportunity, then this trip to the capital will have been in vain.
Is prestige really that important?
It is. Cousin-in-law, do you know why I not only refuse to accept you, but also find you eyesore?
I have talent and beauty.
They use me to decorate their social standing when they need me. But you're a female general, riding on the battlefield, commanding tens of thousands. I feel as though I am like a worn-out shoe that can be discarded at will. I want to do something to prove that I am not inferior, but family background and social status are constraints everywhere. I am trapped inside them, unable to exert my strength.
What are you trying to say?
I must race horses with you, using what you are best at. That way, it won't be considered an unfair victory.
The day after tomorrow, at the West Mountain Horse Ranch. What time?
At the 3rd quarter of the hour of the dragon. I have already spoken with the ranch management. They have cleared a separate track for us. No one will disturb us. You really...
Understood.
If you lose, you are not allowed to bully my aunt anymore.
So that was the trap you set the day before yesterday?
Of course. Did you think it was for that useless cousin of mine? A useless piece of trash whom everyone looks down upon. I wouldn't want him.
Then tell me. How exactly did I bully her?
You used your power to oppress others, disrespected your elders, seized other people's property, and beat a family servant to death without cause. Every single accusation is true. If I win the horse race, you must apologize to my aunt and return the land deeds and manor to her.
In your dreams. What a distorted version of the truth.
Just because you are a great general and think you are so grand, does that mean we all have to fawn over you?
Go ask your aunt carefully. That family servant repeatedly abused the Duke. Should he not have been punished? I merely dismissed him. Where did you get beaten to death from? Furthermore, the land deeds originally belonged to Jiang Yichen. Should they not be returned?
Regarding my aunt's matters, I will ask her about the details, win or lose. I thank you for accepting my challenge.
Young Master Jiang, your wife is racing your cousin today. Who are you betting on?
I am not betting.
You quit gambling, as if the sun had risen from the west.
My wife keeps a tight rein on me. General, you finally arrived. Quite a crowd today. That kid Su Qing is here too. I don't know if he's here to compete or to curry favor.
Su Qing, that kid from last time is dressed to the nines today.
Don't look at him too much.
General Shen, we meet again.
Is young Master Su also here to race today?
My equestrian skills are mediocre, so I wouldn't dare make a fool of myself. I came today specifically to present something to you, General.
What is it?
A fine horse deserves a fine saddle. I commissioned an old craftsman in Yenzhou to make this harness. The leather is Yenzhou soft leather, and the buckles are bronze work from Ruilin Pavilion in the capital. I designed the wild goose on the headstall myself. I thought you might have a use for it, General, so I took the liberty of bringing it. For your race today, General, if you could use this harness, it would be my greatest honor.
The leather, bronze work, and stitching are all superb, but Snowstepper has her usual saddle. Changing to a new one might make her uncomfortable. With the race about to start, changing saddles at the last minute is bad luck. Take this harness back with you.
This harness was originally custom-made to Snowstepper's measurements.
Young Master Su, I understand your intentions, and because I understand, I cannot accept it.
If you won't accept it, General, you must have your reasons. But I won't give this harness to anyone else. Whenever you feel you have a use for it, you may come and collect it at any time.
This kid really spared no expense. Although that wild goose drawing is a bit ugly, he truly put his heart into it.
It is a fine piece.
Then why didn't you accept it?
Not giving him false hope is what's best for him.
General, my cousin's black horse. You've seen it, right? The fastest one in the Dengzhou stables. He indeed wasn't boasting.
I have seen it. It is a good horse.
His name is Windchaser, the fastest horse in the Dengzhou stables. He has never fallen. I've changed my mind. I want to change the stakes. The winner must lead the horse for the loser in the street.
Okay.
Today's horse race is a contest between General Shen of the Duke's Manor and Miss Su of Dengzhou. 3 laps around the track. There are 3 archery targets along the way. The one who hits small targets and crosses the white line first wins.
Don't look at me, cousin. Look ahead.
You too.
My cousin won.
General Shen's arrow was more accurate. Are you blind?
The black horse has overtaken.
Our general hasn't even exerted her full strength yet.
My clothes are about to be torn by you.
Your hand.
Are you all right?
I can still finish the last stretch. Let's continue.
Can you manage? Does it hurt?
It doesn't hurt. A loss is a loss. I must do it.
I cannot break my promise.
Let me down.
Except for your pride. No one cares.
Sister, have you never thought about calling off the engagement?
It was bestowed by the Emperor's imperial decree. Who can refuse?
The imperial decree didn't say that we cannot call off the engagement. Do you really like cousin?
Oh dear. Don't move, horsey. Did you guys forget there's still someone else?
Cousin, a letter from Dengzhou has arrived to urge her back, and also said since she is injured, she might as well go back early to recuperate.
What were her exact words?
She has made her scene and had her competition. Since she couldn't outdo the other, she shouldn't stay here and embarrass herself further. Next time I come to the capital, I still want to ride and shoot with you. I will remember you, Sister Yuxiao.
What are you dazing off for? My dear General, Su Ying was originally a pawn brought in by Second Aunt, thinking she could outshine you at the flower viewing banquet. In the end, she couldn't outshine you, but instead, this girl became one of yours. If she kept using her, she wouldn't be a helper, but a liability.
You are not stupid after all.
I've lived in this household for over 20 years. If I couldn't see through those little schemes, I would have been eaten alive long ago. In this Grand Duke's manor, there are many eyes watching, inside and out.
Are you reminding me of something?
You think too highly of me, General. Go back and change into dry clothes.
A diagonal entry. The force, the angle, the technique is from the same person. It looks like a dart wound. The minister's family was furthest from the bull. They wouldn't help me. Only him, and he was the closest. The #1 playboy of the capital. Where did he get such technique? The dart is yours.
So I've been found out. My father had a scout under his command who was skilled at using darts and silver needles. I learned it for a few years when I was young. When I was 9 years old, my father was ambushed outside Yanmen Pass. His marching route had been leaked. 3,000 troops fell into a Hu ambush, and not a single soul survived.
Do you know who leaked the route?
I don't. That winter, I fell gravely ill. The medicine tasted incredibly bitter. I took one sip and spat it out. The physician said the dose of arsenic wasn't very large. My second uncle immediately executed over 10 servants around me, even though they were clearly the ones who loved and protected me. Before he died, the old butler told me to beware of my second uncle.
Who else have you told about this?
You are the first. Over the past 3 months, the movements of the Hu tribes outside the pass have been highly unusual. In previous years, after spring arrived, they would migrate north, living where there is water and grass. But this year, at least 3 or 4 major tribes have stopped on the grasslands 300 miles outside the pass, holding their ground.
How do you know this?
I have a few merchant friends who travel the northern border year-round. They travel back and forth across the pass and are most familiar with the movements of the tribes along the way. Last month, a traveling merchant returned and told me that the Hu outside the pass are secretly gathering. The exact numbers are unknown.
On the border reports received by the Ministry of War, it says the Hu are on their spring hunt, dispersing and gathering unpredictably, and nothing to worry about.
Suppressing reports and not presenting them is a capital offense.
But he is the Minister of War, holding a high position, with his entire family bathed in honor. If he colludes with the enemy and betrays the country, what good does it do him? Unless what he wants is more than just being the Minister of War.
What if he actually wants something to go wrong at the border? What if he wishes for nothing more than the Hu to march south and plunge us into the disaster of Tsongling Pass once again? Deeper evidence is probably not something I can obtain with the identity of a useless playboy. I beg the general to help me.
There is no need to kneel. Have you read the secret report from the Northwest? I have. The Hu cavalry claims to have 50,000 men.
But the scouts say there are 20,000 at most.
And the rest?
You already know the answer. The northern border.
The 20,000 in the northwest are just a distraction. The true elite of the Hu are gathering at the northern border.
The classic feint to the east while attacking the west.
A classic tactic because it works.
At court tomorrow, my second uncle will surely petition to deploy the capital defense forces to the northwest.
Once the capital is empty, the Hu will be able to drive straight in.
What do you plan to do?
Take a guess.
You have never been one to play by the rules.
Then you guessed right.
You are going to oppose it?
No.
You are going to second it?
Yes.
He is probably drafting his speech at home right now.
Waiting to shut you down tomorrow. I need 2 things. A fake defense map and a fake deployment order.
Both written for the Northwest?
Yes. Present them at court tomorrow. And have him sign them on the spot.
Once he signs, he won't be able to deny it.
Once the army sets out, they will redirect to the northern border midway. With the deployment order in hand, no one can object.
And it will silence his people as well.
The goal is precisely to silence them.
You anticipated that he would plant his own people in the army.
He certainly will. He is the Minister of War. It would be easy for him to send a few advisors along with the army.
Then those people will be his eyes and ears.
Once we reach the northern border, eyes and ears will become useless.
How do you plan to deal with them?
Keep the obedient ones. As for the disobedient ones,
leave the map to me.
Do you have a way?
There is a secret technique. Over the words, northern border, we can overlay a thin sheet of paper and rewrite northwest over it.
Will anyone be able to tell?
At first glance, it looks no different from an ordinary map.
And when it's time to use it?
Peel off the overlay, and underneath will be the true defense deployment of the northern border.
Can it be done tonight?
Yes.
Wait.
You don't need to worry about me.
I only wanted to say that your second uncle's expression tomorrow will surely be quite a sight.
It's a pity I won't be able to see it.
I will watch it for you. Your Majesty, what Minister Jiang says is absolutely correct. The capital's defense forces are brave and skilled in battle, but having stayed in the capital for so long, they lack actual combat experience. Deploying them to the northwest is indeed the right use for them. This subject is willing to lead the troops there, to share the country's burdens. Are you truly willing to lead the troops? This subject has spent many years at the border. Fighting the Hu people is what I do. Changing the location to fight them is just the same.
Good.
General Shen is so noble and public-spirited. I am full of admiration.
Minister Jiang is too polite.
But why does General Shen agree to deploy the troops?
Didn't Minister Jiang just say that speed is of the essence in military matters? I simply felt that you were right. This subject prepared the defense map and deployment order last night. Please have a look, Your Majesty. Beloved official Jiang, you should have a look as well. Is there any issue with the deployment order?
No.
And the defense map?
There is no issue either.
Since that is the case, this deployment order shall be signed and confirmed by beloved official Jiang right here in court.
Your Majesty.
The deployment of troops is a matter of great importance. The Minister of War and the Commanding General must sign it together to conform to the court's regulations. Surely Minister Jiang is not unaware of this?
This subject is aware.
Then sign it. Set out with the army tomorrow. There must be no delay.
I receive the imperial decree. Move out. Yeah.
There is a fork in the road ahead.
Which way do we go?
One leads to the northwest, the other leads to the northern border.
Pass down the order. The whole army will change course. Advance toward the northern border.
General, did you just say the northern border?
You heard me very clearly.
But what is written on the deployment order is...
General Shen, I am Zhao Huan, military counselor of the Ministry of War. I venture to speak.
Speak.
The military order I received was to reinforce the northwest. The deployment order clearly states northwest in black and white. All the soldiers in the army know we are heading west. Why does the general suddenly want to change course to the northern border?
What are you trying to say?
I wish to know why the general is changing course.
This is exactly how the military order is written.
What military order? That is impossible.
See for yourself.
This is not right. The deployment order archived at the Ministry of War clearly says northwest. I saw it with my own eyes.
You misread it.
I could not have misread it. I have served in the Ministry of War for 12 years. I have never made such an error.
Then are you saying that I altered the deployment order? I would not dare.
But this matter is highly suspicious.
General Shen, I am Lu Jin, counselor of the Ministry of War. The order I received was also to head to the northwest. I am Ma Ping, commandant of the Ministry of War. The order I received was likewise for the northwest.
General Shen, all four of us received orders for the northwest. Only the copy in your hand, General, says northern border is.
This what?
This general begs you to turn the army back and march according to the original route. Once we return to the capital and verify the authenticity of the transfer order with the Ministry of War, we can make further plans. Councillor Zhao is right. General, a general in the field may decline royal commands, but if the order is indeed genuine, I will have absolutely no objections. But right now, the orders are contradictory. I cannot help but ask further. An army of 20,000 is no small matter. Who will bear this responsibility?
I will.
Can you bear it, General? This defense map is also for the northern border.
Look closely.
But the Ministry of War's defense map is for the northwest. These two documents in your hands, General, do not match the archives of the Ministry of War at all. I cannot help but suspect.
Suspect what?
Suspect that you have other motives, General.
Zhao Huan, you have served in the Ministry of War for 12 years.
Yes.
Then you should know what the penalty is for disobeying military orders.
I am not disobeying military orders. I am verifying military orders. These two documents contradict each other. Upon my return to the capital, I will certainly report this matter to the Ministry of War. I second the motion. There are no small matters in the military. If there are doubts about the transfer order, we should verify it first before marching. I second the motion as well. Please reconsider. General. General, I beg of you.
The transfer order is here. The defense map is here. If anyone else disobeys, these three will be their example. Hear my command, whole army, reroute to the northern border. Set off immediately.
Yes. She changed her route midway. How dare she?
My lord, what happened?
Shen Yuxiao changed her route to the northern border. Zhao Wan, Liu Jin, and Ma Ping have all been killed.
All three of them are dead?
She knew from the very beginning.
Do you mean our plan for the northwest, my lord?
She saw right through it. To feint to the east, luring the tiger from the mountain. She saw through all of it.
Then, what about the northern border?
The Hu camp still doesn't know Shen Yuxiao went to the northern border. If no one delivers the news, they will suffer a massive defeat.
My lord, that's not even the worst of it.
I know.
Those letters.
Shut up. I will write a letter. Go find 2 men.
What kind of men?
Tight-lipped and quick-handed.
Understood.
To the Hu general, Aguli. This letter must be delivered directly into his hands. What about the route? Avoid the main roads. Take the back paths and leave the city through the north gate. Listen up. You too, leave the city tonight. Travel day and night to get outside Qingshan Pass. There is an inn in front of Qingsha Mountain. Someone there will receive the letter. If you are questioned along the way, say you are merchants going to the northern border to buy furs.
Yes.
If this letter falls into anyone else's hands, neither of you needs to bother coming back.
Your subordinates understand.
I saw 2 figures slip out from the back gate of the Minister of War's manor opposite us, vanishing into the DLE. Young master, should we make a move?
No rush. Follow them. Leave markers along the way. Do not alert them. Let them go.
You mean, young master?
Aren't they going to meet Aguli? Let them meet him. We will close the net once they reach the meeting place.
We'll catch them all in one go.
Along with whatever they are carrying.
Understood. sir.
Second uncle, you really couldn't sit still. I've been waiting for you to make this move. Two more things. First, send this letter to the northern border via carrier pigeon.
Second,
personally lead a team to follow those two. Do not disturb them. Record everyone they contact along the way. Make sure the time and place of the meeting are crystal clear. When it's time for the meeting, I will come personally.
You will handle it yourself, young master?
They are my second uncle's men. As his nephew, I must give him a proper account.
Yes.
Father, when you gave me this jade pendant, you said the reputation of the Jiang family depended on me to support it. Looking at the situation now, it's not about supporting it, but tearing it down. Only by tearing it down completely can we rebuild it.
How many defenders are on the city walls? Reporting. General, 3,000 at most. 3,000. Qingshan Pass is not a major pass. The usual garrison is no more than 1,000 men. 3,000 men defending a low wall. The Han Chinese truly have no one left to use. General, the eastern wall of the city has been breached. Charge again. They've gone mad. Open the city gates.
It's too late. Ah.
General, we can barely hold them off. They have too many cavalry. Our defensive line is about to be breached.
All troops, hear my order. Retreat immediately. The Hu army has retreated 100 miles, and set up camp again. Count the men. We lost 3 generals, and nearly 10,000 soldiers. The letter from the capital stated very clearly that Shen Yuxiao led his army to the northwest. How could he appear at Qingshan Pass? How could he be here?
Could the information be false?
False information. That old fool Jiang. Send someone to the border tavern, to contact Minister Jiang's men. Ask him where Shen Yuxiao actually is. If he dares to trick me, I will have his life.
We've been waiting for nearly an hour. What's the rush? It's raining on the road. It's only normal to be delayed. I don't want to stay in this place for another second. Do you think I do? Why do you think his lordship insisted on? Shut up.
We were delayed by the rain on the road.
No matter.
General Aguli orders that the delivery must be quick.
This is written by Lord Jiang himself. It must be delivered directly into General Aguli's hands.
What else did Lord Jiang say?
Lord Jiang said Shen Yuxiao has redirected to the northern border and told the general to prepare early.
Redirected to the northern border? When did this happen?
10 days ago. We traveled day and night to deliver this message, precisely for this matter.
Understood.
If I were you, I wouldn't make a move.
You are the young duke.
You recognize me?
Lord Jiang mentioned.
Mentioned what?
Mentioned that the young duke is not of the same mind as him.
He was right.
Spare our lives, young duke. We were only following orders.
So you knew what you were delivering?
We.
It's very detailed. Even the grain routes are drawn.
Young lord, please show mercy for the sake of our clan.
Our clan?
Lord Jiang is your biological second uncle, after all.
When he did these things, did he ever think of himself as my second uncle?
Aguile's main camp is 30 miles due north, with its back against a shallow river. Its left and right flanks are guarded by 5,000 troops each. Although the Hu people have retreated 100 miles, their main force remains intact. Aguile must be regrouping, attempting to attack once more.
What will his next move be?
He wouldn't dare to retreat. The Khan and the commander-in-chief are both watching him from behind. He has only one path left: to capture Qingshan Pass and redeem himself.
Then he has no path left at all.
Yes.
Scouts report that the Hu camp's defenses are lax. The night patrol soldiers are at half their usual strength.
What about the watchtowers?
The sentries on the watchtowers are dozing off.
After their recent defeat, their morale is low. Indeed.
When do you plan to strike?
Tonight. Having just fought a major battle, the Hu people assume our army won't dare leave the city to pursue them.
So you're doing the exact opposite.
They expect me to defend the city, but I won't.
How many men are you taking?
3,000.
3,000 against 90,000?
Is that not enough?
Whether it's enough is up to you.
I will take 3,000 troops. The rest will defend the city. If I do not return before dawn.
You will return.
Once we set out, no torches are to be lit, no sounds are to be made. Are the horses' hooves wrapped in cloth?
They are wrapped. General, how shall we attack?
A direct frontal charge.
Understood.
A rapid march of 30 miles in 2 hours.
How do we proceed once we reach the river?
Take 500 men to flank them from the left and burn their supplies. I will handle the main camp. Soldiers, hear my command. Move out.
Charge.
Enemy raid. Charge.
Form up and face the enemy. Do not panic, fight. Shen Yuxiao,
Aguile is dead. Aguile is dead.
Charge.
Do not retreat. Form up. Archers, draw your bows.
Hey. Hiya.
I have fought on the battlefield for 30 years.
30 years. Until tonight.
So you are Shen Yuxiao.
You know of me?
Aguile mentioned your name. He said you were a worthy opponent.
I think he was still a bit lacking.
How many men did you bring?
3,000.
3,000. My army of 100,000 was trampled by your 3,000 men.
It is not the number of soldiers that matters.
Is that so? It is not the number of soldiers. I have one last question.
Speak.
Your transfer order said the Northwest. Why are you in the Northern Territory?
Because I never planned to go to the Northwest.
So that transfer order was indeed fake.
Real or fake, you no longer need to worry about that.
Come on, a Hu Khan will die standing, even in death.
It is good to have you back, General. Please accept this, General.
Are you hurt?
Is that even possible?
As expected of my general's wife. How did the battle go?
3 top generals, 1 commander-in-chief, and 1 Khan. Countless Hu soldiers. The gold seal of the Hu Khan and the pearl from the top of his tent are yours.
You should keep the pearl.
To serve as a testament for you.
A testament to what?
A testament to 3,000 flattening 100,000.
Ha ha ha.
Has your second uncle received the news yet?
Probably not yet, but soon.
What will happen to him?
Colluding with the enemy and committing treason. Naturally, his entire family will be executed.
Then what about you?
For exposing the crime, I will be pardoned and retain my title.
Lucky you. An imperial decree has arrived from the capital, ordering me to return and report on my duties.
It just so happens that I need to return to the capital as well.
Why are you going back?
To settle and clean up my family affairs.
Then let us head back together.
When do we set off?
You certainly aren't being polite.
In front of you. Do I need to be polite?
Your subject, Shen Yuxiao, has returned to the capital to report on my duties by imperial decree.
Your subject, Jiang Yichen, has accompanied General Shen to the capital by imperial decree. Greetings, Your Majesty.
You may rise. General Shen, regarding the battle in the Northern Territory, you led 3,000 iron cavalry to flatten the Hu army of 100,000, beheaded their Khan, killed their commander-in-chief, and executed Agili. Is this true? 3,000 against 100,000. What were you thinking?
I didn't think much of it.
You didn't think much of it.
Opportunities on the battlefield are fleeting. If you think too much, you won't be able to fight.
Ha! Well said. If you think too much, you won't be able to fight. What about that forged deployment order? Did you not think much of that either?
I thought a bit more about that one.
Speak.
The Minister of War colluded with the enemy and committed treason, intending to deploy the capital's defense forces away and leave the capital defenseless. Had this subject not detected it in advance, the capital would have been in grave danger.
So you forged the deployment order and defense map in advance?
Jiang Yichen forged them. This subject merely used them.
Jiang Yichen. Do you know what crime it is to forge a deployment order?
A capital offense.
Then how did you dare forge the deployment order and defense map?
Had this subject not done so, we could not have brought down a treasonous minister of war.
In the case of Jiang Jingzong's treason, both the physical evidence and witness testimonies are complete. Following a joint trial by the 3 judicial offices, he has made a full confession. By law, he is sentenced to execution, and his entire clan is to be executed. Jiang Yichen.
This subject is here.
For your merit in exposing the crime, your offenses are pardoned, and your title is retained. Do you have any objections?
This subject has no objections.
Shen Yuxiao, receive your decree. For the great victory in the Northern Territory, slaying the enemy chief, pacifying the border troubles, and demonstrating our imperial might, such merit must be rewarded.
By grace of heaven, the Emperor decrees Shen Yuxiao, general who guards the north, is loyal, brave, and resolute, possessing extraordinary strategic wisdom. With 3,000 iron cavalry, you defeated 100,000 barbarians, beheaded the Khan, and reclaimed 1,000 miles of the northern border. You are specially promoted to Grand General of the State, ennobled as Duke of the State, first class, granted a fief of 3,000 households, and bestowed with the Golden Seal and Purple Ribbon. Respect this.
Your Majesty, absolutely not.
Censor Zhou.
This subject is here.
3,000 against 100,000. If you think you can do it, go ahead. Our mind is made up. Who supports this, and who opposes?
This subject accepts the decree. Thank your Majesty for your immense grace.
Jiang Yichen, receive your decree.
By grace of heaven, the Emperor decrees Jiang Yichen, the heir of the Duke, placed justice above family, exposed the traitor, and aided in the great victory at the northern border. He is appointed Minister of War by imperial decree. This subject accepts the decree. Thank you, Your Majesty.
Do the two of you have anything else to say?
This subject has one matter.
Speak.
The generals at the northern border all fought to the death and achieved great merit in this war. I implore your majesty to generously reward the officers and soldiers of the border army.
We will order the Ministry of War to draft a decree for this. Every soldier of the northern border army shall be rewarded with 1 year's salary. The compensation for those who died in battle shall be doubled.
On behalf of the border officers and soldiers, this subject thanks your majesty.
Is there anything else?
This subject also has one matter.
Speak.
Although Jiang Zhengzong has been brought to justice, there are still many in the Ministry of War who were deceived by him. I implore your majesty's grace. The chief culprit has been executed. The followers should be treated with leniency.
Do you wish to plead for them?
This subject believes the imperial court is in need of talent. Implicating too many people would not benefit the country. Those who deserve punishment shall be dealt with according to the law. The rest shall be kept on probation.
Granted.
Your majesty is wise.
Is there anything else?
Nothing more.
Then you may withdraw.
Yes.